Me. Yes, cool. All right. So unfortunately, I don't know where my PowerPoint went. It's gone. So John had, let me go ahead and start recording this.
I got it recording, Catherine.
Thank you. Okay, so my name's Catherine, I'm a PA, and I had a beautiful presentation that I worked very hard on for PowerPoint, and it's gone. And so right before this, John had done an update. It's not his fault, but it's gone. I have no idea where it's at, but fortunately, I had printed out everything in front of me. So I've got it in front of me, and I'm going to do my best, and hopefully it'll all work out. And yeah. Okay, so basically, I'm so excited that, you guys have popped on, and I know several other people want to be here for the recording. And so basically, I have this new love passion for integrative functional medicine, and it is incredible to me. A little bit about me. Yeah, as you know, I'm a PA. I'm a licensed PA. I do urgent care and wound care. I work part-time. And just to throw it out there, I'm not your PA. I'm not your doctor. So don't take anything I'm talking to you about tonight as medical advice or treatment of any disease. Please talk to your own doctor about what you want to do. So and a little bit more about me is that after my third baby, Miss Leah, she is just about 1 year old. And, she's great, but my body went through the ringer after a third baby, not just physically, but emotionally, and everything in every single way that I hadn't really experienced with my other 2 babies. So yeah, I was stressed, I was exhausted, I couldn't shake the baby weight, I was struggling with recurrent postpartum issues, I was craving carbs and chocolates in my evening glass of wine. I've always kind of suffered with allergies, I've always had a lot of inflammation in my skin. And I had gone to the dermatologist several times, and he was like, well, here's all your creams and your stuff that you can do, and you know what, I think I actually suggest you go on Accutane. I was like, what? Accutane? Like, no. You don't just give that to people. I just was so fed up with that, and I was like, that's not the answer. My skin is not that bad. And he was like, well, that's the only cure for acne. I was like, no, sir. There's gotta be more to this. And he was like, oh, birth control, spironolactone. And I was like, no, thanks. And so I had this really great picture of our family to have you look at. And it was a picture taken 6 months postpartum. I was about probably 20 pounds heavier than I am now. And anyway, on and on, through that time, now I'm a year out postpartum, but about, I don't know, 6 months ago, I became friends with Val, and I met her. It's so funny. I met her over a PA group over Facebook, and it was local PAs to Boise. And so we had reached out, and she was kind of, we developed a friendship. She was kind of talking to me about these things, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, you're all into this functional medicine thing, but I'll listen. And, and then I had another PA friend, her name's Liz, and she had the same thing. She was talking to me all about this herbs and all sorts of things, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep listening and keep learning. And sure enough, I was seeing, she was kind of sharing how her health was changed around through these certain ways of life and certain products that were all mineral, vitamin, and herb based. And I knew very little on supplements, but and I was really struggling because supplements are not regulated by the FDA. And so what you see on the bottle isn't always what you get. And I hated that. And there were so many companies, I felt overwhelmed. So I saw results in her, and I trusted her. I also have I found Callie Zimmerman. She's an esthetician with Rococo, and she was treating acne with a holistic perspective using natural ingredients, and not, harsh things on the skin. She was like, I hate Accutane, do not do it. That's not a good a good thing. And then my midwife that I had through my third baby, she was also kind of suggesting to me during this time, because I always was in contact with her about, you should really, Catherine, she was telling me, Catherine, your intestines and your vaginal area are all connected. They're all one, and it's all your microbiome, and you need to eat some more like, fermented foods and yogurt. And I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, cut the sugar out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I get it, but I didn't really get it, if you know what I mean. So I started doing all those things, and my health started getting better, lo and behold. And what I did was on August 21st, I started on just one thing, sulfur. One thing. And now when I look back, I have lost 13 pounds. I have like very little carb cravings. I don't crave alcohol anymore, which, folks, I mean, that was a nightly event. Okay. And so way more chilled out. I have way more energy. I can tell my body is way less inflamed and decreased. And another thing is my ring size has gone down like 2 sizes at least. And I actually have lost my wedding ring. And I think it's because my fingers were so little that it like flown off, which is super sad, but it's kind of just part of my journey. And so what I want to do now is that I now have this huge desire to help people in ways that I can't do in clinic due to insurance companies, time restrictions, and the business of medicine, as Maddie can totally relate. It's just like you can't spend the time with time that you need to with folks. So I don't know if you can actually see. I don't know if this is worthwhile, but nope, not really. Oh, kind of. Okay. The warning signs of general health. So when our health is off for any reason, we start noticing excess weight, pain, low energy, and our mood can be thrown off. And so I now believe that those are warning signs to say, something's going on. Something in your body is not happy. So that kind of gets us into this whole idea of our health being a health bank account. So, I personally believe that God made our bodies super perfect. And now that with the knowledge I know now, I feel like the doctors of the future really will no longer treat human beings with drugs, but rather cure and prevent disease with nutrition. And Thomas Edison said that a long time ago. And this is not new, right? Hippocrates was like, hey, food is medicine. And I feel like it's coming around again because people are recognizing that everyone's getting sicker. Like, we look around, we're treating, and we're like, here's another medication for your nausea that's caused by XYZ drug that you're on. And it's just, it's not working of what our current medical system is doing. So this whole health bank account, just that what goes in should come out, and at the end of the day, the balance should be zero. So think of our health, and with all the withdrawals that we've had in our life, like a pregnancy, a surgery, cancer, chronic stress, or excess working out. So those are all things that take a lot of our body. And if we're not doing anything to replace that, we just keep withdrawing from our body. And soon, like, our body's going to say something and let us know that it's not doing well. We need to be replacing those withdrawals with different food or supplements or whatever to help make it so that our balance is zero. Okay, so we kind of talk about what we talked about, the warning signs: excess weight, pain, low energy, and mood. And tonight, I really want to focus on gut health. So the gut health warning signs. So we've talked about general warning signs, the mood, energy, weight, but different gut health warning signs. I had this fantastic slide to show you that has a whole list of things. So just bear with me. Things that might be going on. Being bloated, weight gain, or you're at a plateau, irritable bowel syndrome, food cravings, yeast overgrowth, bacterial vaginosis, inflammatory bowel disease, gluten sensitivities or celiac disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, acne, celiac or food allergies, eczema, depression, autoimmune disorders, small intestines, bacterial overgrowth. Like these are all things that if you're experiencing any of them, you might think that your gut is saying, hey, listen to me, something's not right down here. And it's true. And a lot of this kind of weaves in with your thyroid. It weaves in with leaky gut syndrome, which is actually a real thing. And we'll talk about it real briefly. But, it's funny because I look back, a year ago, and if someone kind of came up to me and said, I think I have leaky gut, I would have been like, that's made up, like that's not that's not a real thing, neither is detoxing. That's not a real thing. Like you just, let's here's a Zofran. You're just nauseated. So anyway, so bear with me. I think it's hilarious when I look back now and how much I've learned over this past year, and that no, these are real things. And as I go through tonight, you're going to understand why as I'm and talking about the microbiome. Okay, so 1 in 5 Americans are suffering from one of the above symptoms or diseases. That's a ton. 1 in 5 people. So right now there are 5 people signed on. One of us is experiencing these symptoms. And if you follow me at all on Facebook or Instagram, I preach about insulin resistance and how it's one of the main culprits of chronic diseases, which it is. However, you can actually, what you eat is ultimately processed in the gut. So we could argue that the gut is the epicenter of your health. And in addition to the symptoms that I've listed previously in just a moment ago, have you ever been on antibiotics ever in your life? A single round of antibiotics can affect your gut health for up to 2 years. 2 years. 1 round of antibiotics. And multiple, as we know, or maybe not everyone knows, but multiple rounds of antibiotics create drug-resistant bacteria. Here's another question. Do you consume alcohol regularly, which is also linked to an imbalance of the gut microbiome? Do you sit around all the time? A sedentary lifestyle, that's also linked to a decreased diversity of your microbiome. Do you smoke? What's your sleep like? Do lack of sleep is linked to a poor gut health diversity and weight gain. Also, are you chronically stressed? Stress also causes dysbiosis. Clostridium is a microbe that's in your gut at lower levels, and it's been shown to be more dominant with increased stress versus lactobacillus, which is another bacteria, increases if you're happy. Also, are you a super duper clean freak? This whole hygiene, ultra hygiene problem, and I'll talk about it later, but they found, I'll go more into it later, but are you cleaning okay, now we're in COVID, right? So everyone's cleaning everything all the time, but pre-COVID, were you cleaning everything all the time, everywhere? Are you, not letting your kids play around the dirt, like all those things? And do you have a poor and limited diet? Those are all decreased with just poor diversity or low diversity. Okay, so that's a lot just in that one little slide that I had for you. The next, I kind of want to touch on leaky gut because I had this quote from Dr. Aviva Ram, and I just love it. So I'm going to read it to you, and it was on a PowerPoint slide. Leaky gut occurs when there is damage to the gut lining as a result of stress, certain medications, environmental toxins, nutritional deficiencies, microbiome disruption, and inflammatory food triggers. Any of these can disrupt the integrity of the gut lining, and the intestinal lining becomes more permeable. This can cause digestive symptoms like gas, bloating, constipation, or loose stools, or symptoms after eating like fatigue, mood changes, or rapid heartbeat. Leaky gut is a well-established cause of chronic systemic inflammation, insulin resistance, weight gain, and even obesity, and can even lead to autoimmune diseases. So I just thought she said that so perfectly and concise. if we were to take out your intestines and lay them out, there would be enough surface area to cover 2 tennis courts. I mean, it's a dramatic, huge surface area. And we're talking our skin on the outside of us too, and then our mouth, our nose, and down our esophagus and our GI tract all the way up to our butt. And then with women, the vaginal, the vagina is all part of your microbiome everywhere. It's really, no one, you can't see it, so we don't have it in our front of our minds, but it's there. And that lining that protects us, it's almost like someone told me it's like a handshake with the environment in your body, that lining. And that lining can over time be damaged by all the things she listed. And that allows the, like, say you have, for example, you ate, I don't know, a strawberry from the store that was not organic and it had, pesticides and herbicides all over it, and you ate it. So that, I mean, you would put, and you had a gut lining that was not good, and it was permeable, which means it has leaks. And, maybe part of that pesticide could go through your lining to your bloodstream. Then your immune system would recognize it as foreign and start attacking it, causing inflammation. So this is one example of so many things that we put in our bodies. And that's kind of about leaky gut. So I kind of wanted to touch on leaky gut because it is very important, and we'll go through things, and there's ways to treat it too, but I wanted to touch on it. Okay, next, I wanted to say, is gut health just a new trend? Is it just a new thing? In the 1600s is when microscopes started to, like, were invented, and we got to see a microbe underneath, and we're like, oh, yep, those are real. And then in the late 1990s, that's when more papers started coming out. And just now in 2020 is now it's finally being recognized. And it's funny because all the functional medicine doctors were like, yeah, we've been doing this for 20 years. It's just now coming to the conventional allopathic traditional medicine is finally starting to recognize it and doing more research on it. And it's like, it wasn't taught in PA school to me. It's not in medical schools as far as I know. So but now it's starting to get traction because people are starting to do research on it and it's being proven. So we talk about the hygiene theory. Researchers have observed that industrial countries and urban areas, people had worse microbiomes, low diversity. I'll go into what that means later, due to several factors, including the fluorination in our water, using Roundup, like the glyphosate, that's all over everything. It's even in the rain that comes down on our farms. Too many antibiotics. The CDC actually states that over 50% of antibiotics are inappropriately given to people. And we're eating antibiotics from our cows and our meat and our chicken and our dairy, and they're given to the cattle not necessarily for diseases, but because it makes them bigger, faster. And that, I mean, so the humans, as a human, we're just the downstream effect of all these things accumulating. So what that means is that it affects our microbiome. So we're seeing the increased incidence of chronic disease, asthma, chronic bowel disease, ulcerative colitis, IBS, and autoimmune diseases. And then researchers found people who live in the rural areas and have more of a diverse microbiome, they have very few chronic diseases and inflammation. So what is your microbiome? And I have this awesome picture of a petri dish, and it has a whole bunch of growth of all different type of bacteria. And I have a microbiology major, is what I did my undergrad in. So I love this stuff. And so it's real. It grows on petri dishes. It causes strep throat. Like, we know these microbes are living and active. But your microbiome tells a story about you. It's full of viruses, fungi, bacteria, protozoa that are all normal and healthy. We call it our normal flora. The microbes outnumber our cells 10 to 1. Trillions of cells live on us and in us, and most of them are in our guts. The Human Genome Project has found about 25,000 human genes, whereas the Microbiome Project have found 46 million genes. The gut has also been referred to as our second brain. the weight of the microbes weighs 4 to 5 pounds, which is the weight of our brain. And the microbiome can change, which is awesome, but our DNA can't change that much. And it tells a story about you. Um, and so my next slide was, and just like let that set in, because when we look at each other, we don't see a bunch of microbes. we can't see them, but yet they're everywhere and they're literally keeping us alive. And so when it comes to the food we eat, the stuff we put on our skin, we have to think about those microbes. So the next slide I have was, how does your microbiome develop and how does it change? And it starts actually with you inside your mom's womb. Did your mom have any antibiotics during her pregnancy? That just starts the microbiome development in the baby at that time. Were you a vaginal or versus a C-section? So a vaginal delivery would coat the baby with lactobacillus mainly, and give that baby a really good sturdy microbiome, versus the C-section coming up through the skin, being exposed to mostly Staph aureus in any hospital type of bugs. Not necessarily good or bad, but it's different, and this just kind of establishes what the microbiome of that child would be. Was the baby breastfed or were they fed formula fed? They have found that the breastfed babies have a more diverse microbiome. Were you raised in an urban setting or a rural setting? And like, again, as I've touched on earlier, in that you live on a farm, you have dogs, you have cats, you've got, if you're exposed to all those different bacteria, you're able to play in the dirt, like it would increase your microbiome versus someone who's in an industrialized city apartment, for example. Okay, and then we talk about, during your life, have you been on antibiotics? As we've talked about, one round can affect your microbiome for up to 2 years. And antibiotics kill off like everything, not everything, but a lot. And it can make those bacteria like Clostridium difficile, who just are in our normal flora, but when they're given the opportunity to grow and be pathogenic or cause disease, it will. and it will just overpopulate your colon or your intestines in relation to every other good bacteria and cause you to be very sick. So the next one I want to highlight is super important, is the medications that we are on, the medications I'm prescribing to my patients. I have to be more aware of this. And I'm saying this because this is kind of like a thing that I want to just impact me further deeper, is that the medications we put people on or that you've taken in your life can impact the microbiome of your patient. And I'm going to talk about 2, proton pump inhibitors and NSAIDs, which are so common. As I've put on a post, PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, are the top 10 drugs that are most prescribed in the world. And as they've been out longer and longer, we're seeing more and more of this downstream negative effect of PPIs. We're told as practitioners to only keep your patient on for maybe 8 weeks, no more. But turns out patients really like to be able to eat what they want and pop that omeprazole and feel great. So it's one of those things, instant gratification that they fight. But as we've now, the proton pump inhibitors, what they do is they decrease the acidity of your stomach, which alters that environment for those bacteria that are in your stomach all the time, that need that really acidic environment. So what I found this incredible paper that was talking about how now they're coming to find that people who are on PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, are associated with a 65% increase in enteric infections like Clostridium difficile, or C. diff. They're more harmful than antibiotics on our microbiome, and it causes small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And you might be saying, what is that, Catherine? So that is when there is an overgrowth of bacteria in your small intestines that shouldn't be there. It's not normal. And it's because there's a long-term acid reduction suppression that's happening in your stomach that causes, so your food's not getting completely digested by the bugs. So you're getting partially undigested food going into your small bowel, which is not normal. And the stomach actually empties slower because of PPIs. So, and we can also relate this to even like an H2 blocker, like Pepsid, which is not a PPI. Sorry if I'm talking above anyone else's head, but that's kind of like a Pepsid, which is a lot of people pop those all the time too. It's doing the same thing, but just not as severe. It's changing the acidity of the stomach. So we just need to be more mindful of it. I think as a provider, I'm saying this. And we also found that PPIs can exacerbate the mucosa damage caused by NSAIDs of the small bowel, contrast to the protective effects of PPIs on NSAIDs in the upper GI tract. So what that means is a lot of times we put patients on PPIs because they have an ulcer in their tummy, and it might help their ulcer heal, but then it's actually doing damage to their small bowel. So we can't, it's like, so let's talk about Motrin, Aleve, ibuprofen. Like, who doesn't take those at least once a month? Like, it's definitely, some people are taking them daily to control their arthritis, to doing all sorts of things. We know this causes ulcers in the stomach, but what we're coming to find out is that it also negatively affects the microbiome of the stomach. It allows the overgrowth of certain bacteria that shouldn't be there, that releases toxins, and then it makes your guts, remember how I was talking about leaky gut, that lining, that when the epithelium in your stomach that literally protects you from what you're eating in your bloodstream, that lining. Ibuprofen, Motrin, long-term use will cause holes in that lining, creating permeability so that those toxins and things that you're eating, when I say toxins, any foreign substance that is going to your bloodstream and your immune system is going to attack it and cause inflammation. Leaky gut. So I wanted to highlight those two because they're so common. Okay, and then our diets. Certain microbiota can actually cause you to crave certain food. So there's a bacteria called Campylobacter, and it actually makes you crave sugar. And it's going to keep making you crave sugar, and so that you continue to feed it sugar, and it will overpopulate your intestines. It's fascinating. I'm like, what? And it's true. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. So, and then also with age, as we age, elderly people have a decreased microbiome, which decreases their immune system, making them prone to diseases and decreasing their absorption of vitamins and minerals. This is huge. This is huge. And as you know, I mean, grandma and grandpa, they don't eat a lot. They're not that hungry, and they don't really want to eat like a lot of fruits and vegetables. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. And you know, there are a lot of them are sipping protein shakes all day, and it's kind of like it's a vicious cycle, really. So another cool thing is that, not cool, but something everyone should know, sugar, when you eat sugar, it cuts your immune system down for 3 hours after indigestion. So when you have a cold, or if you're sick and you're eating candy all day, you're not helping yourself. Okay, that was a lot. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Looks like there's a chat. Oh, there's a crazy. Okay. Now, here's another kind of a lot of information is what can your microbiome do for you? And I've talked a lot about a lot of things. So I'm going to highlight some things as I don't have my slides in front of me for you to look at, which is, I'm so sorry. But we talked about causing you to crave certain foods. Certain bacteria in your microbiome can actually cause you to be more insulin resistant or not, or actually help you to not be insulin resistant. It can help so I can go into the particulars, but I'm not going to. If you want me to, I will, but I'm not. Just know that there are certain bacteria in your microbiome that when they are dominating in your gut, they will help you either gain weight or lose weight. They will either make you depressed or anxious, or they will help you with your depression and anxiety by secreting serotonin and dopamine. It's fascinating that So microbes produce a variety of neurochemicals that are exact analogs of mammalian hormones involved in mood and behavior. More than 50% of the dopamine and the vast majority of the body's serotonin have an intestinal source. That's huge. So just know that there's like 70 to 80% of your serotonin is secreted in your belly, in your guts. And that is what makes you happy. Those levels are what make you happy. Dopamine is what makes you happy. And that is directly related to lactobacillus. That's a big one. And bifidobacterium. So it's fascinating. The bacteria, they help you digest your food. They help you digest your food. They produce, the bacteria in your microbiome produce many vitamins, including B12, B2, B6, B1, vitamin K, folate, and vitamin D. So it's not just the multivitamin you're popping every day. It's the bacteria converting the food that you eat into vitamins. And those vitamins specifically are made to help your liver break down everything. It's called detoxification. There are 3 phases. And your bacteria produce the things that your liver needs to get rid of waste out of your body. It's a beautiful symbiotic relationship. There's also the bacteria help maintain the gap junctions in the intestinal lining, how I talked about that intestinal lining. The bacteria actually help make sure that those junctions stay tight. And if they're loose and they're letting things come through, that's a problem. They help bring cells to the immune system. They help defend us against pathogens. They help with gene regulation called epigenetics, which is fascinating. Epigenetics is the study of changes in humans through the modification of gene expression, turning on and off certain pathways, enzymes, rather than changes in genetic code. So that means our bacteria is involved with what genes are being turned on and off in relation to our health. Huge. It's amazing. The bacteria metabolizes our medicine. The bacteria in our gut help support our thyroid. It's amazing. I just read a paper that was published in June of 2020. There is now a link between people who have low thyroid, which most of my clients that I'm helping right now have low thyroid, functioning thyroid, and they're struggling with all these things that I'm talking about. Because of this, people with a low functioning thyroid are found to have low levels of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. So there's also, because they're low in that, which those 2 are regulating your hormones, serotonin and dopamine, they are also found to be low in iodine, selenium, vitamin D, zinc, and iron because of the bacteria. They're also are suffering from celiac disease, gluten sensitivity, because of their leaky gut, because their intestinal lining is destroyed. However, what they found in this paper too is that probiotics have had beneficial effects in thyroid diseases and are able to have a positive effect on trace elements such as selenium, zinc, and copper. So they're looking at using probiotics to help people who have hypothyroidism. Fascinating. Okay, next thing is that there's the lymphoid system. 70% of our lymph nodes are in our GI tract. Again, just mind-blowing. Like our gut is beautiful and wonderfully made, and having to recognize and understand that our immune system is in our gut as well. Okay, any questions about all that? No? Any questions, Maddie? Samantha? Okay. So let's kind of get into, that's a lot. And I just want to kind of switch gears to recognizing and knowing diversity of your microbiome is key to the health of our microbiome, which means we have to take a stand on what we're putting into our bodies. Our microbes are reliant on the things we give our body. So my next point is let's talk about ways to improve the gut flora or your microbiome. There are several ways. Again, I had a beautiful slide for you to look at, but regardless, here we go. The first way is a prebiotic. So a prebiotic are fiber-rich foods that we eat that are indigestible to us, like we can't really digest them, but it provides a food source for our bacteria. Excuse me, things like asparagus, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, garlic, bananas, ginger, onion, legumes, lentils, oats, artichokes, even some sourdough bread. And the reality is that people know they're supposed to eat healthy, right? I'll tell my patients, you need to eat healthy. And they're like, okay, as they like eat their donut, okay, Catherine. And the reality is we need like 100 grams of fiber a day. But most Americans are getting less than 14 grams a day. We need to be getting 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Who gets that? Who does that? I mean, no one. You have to be eating lettuce all day long, or like everything you can, like, it's like it's so hard. But our bacteria in our gut just rely on those things to eat and to flourish. And another cool thing I'm going to put in, I think, for flaxseed, 2 tablespoons of flaxseed a day is about 30 grams of fiber, which is awesome. All right, so next is say no to sugar, which no one likes to hear. Nobody likes to hear say no to sugar, but it directly causes dysbiosis, which means an imbalance of your microbiome. Sugar, as we've talked about before, because of the certain bacteria that's bad, the bad bacteria that you don't want to be overpopulating your gut, which leads to leaky gut and being sick, increases in population when you eat sugar, because that's what it feeds off of. However, if we can change our diet, if we can motivate people to change their diet, in 2 weeks, your microbiome can change for the better, which is really amazing. It's such a fluid thing that we have direct control over for the most part. The next thing, fermented foods. Of course, no one likes this either, and kombucha doesn't count because that's loaded with sugar. But Greek yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi, and a lot of things like I'm going to start kind of recommending with my clients who have low thyroid issues is to just go ahead and treat them also for leaky gut, because it's been proven that they're suffering with those things too. And dairy is a huge culprit for causing inflammation. So if you can't eat yogurt, there's always coconut yogurt too, but you just have to make sure there's not any added sugar to it. So yeah, sauerkraut. I just made some homemade sauerkraut and it's so good. It's so much better than the nasty crap that comes in a jar at Winco. Like, yuck. But if you can make your own sauerkraut, it's super easy, and I can tell you how to do it. It's super economical, and it's loaded with lactobacillus, which is exactly what our microbiome needs. And so if we daily eat fermented foods, that will help replenish our microbiome. Okay, the next thing I want to kind of camp out on is polyphenols. I don't know if probably no one's heard of polyphenols, but you probably eat them probably once a week. So polyphenols, they come from, they're phytochemicals. They come from blueberries, dark chocolate, green teas, raspberries, any of the dark purple colored type of fruits or vegetables. Polyphenols act on the gut microbiota by increasing the growth of beneficial bacteria, which will produce compounds scientifically proven to promote our health and well-being. If you can eat blueberries every day, you are helping your microbiome. Like it's amazing. Things that you have control over. The next one is probiotics. So I have researched a lot about probiotics. I've listened to a lot of podcasts trying to figure out, okay, what makes a good probiotic? There's a million on the shelves, and if we recommend them to our patients, and what does that mean? And typically what they're saying is the more strains, the better, the higher number of colony forming units, the better. And live is typically better than dead. However, here's the kicker. Just like all other supplements, you never know if you get it, if what's on the bottle is actually true, if the bugs on the label are actually in the probiotic capsules. So that's a really frustrating point for me, because that's why I was seeking out, for example, Pure, but I'm like seeking out companies that I know that what they have third-party testing, and what you're getting is what you're getting. So then I made a note about collagen. Collagen can also, if you supplement, if you are struggling with these problems, and the leaky gut, the microbiome dysbiosis problems, you can add collagen to your coffee every day, and it will help you with the leaky gut. It's what collagen is it is just amino acids that are directly helping the gut lining heal. However, if you're not changing anything else, it's not going to make a big difference. But if you do it in relation to everything else, it will. Exercise. So it's been proven that the more physical active you are, the more diversity you will have in your microbiome. However, if you over exercise, it actually hurts you, it harms you, because it is too much. It causes too much inflammation. So really, they're saying about 5 to 6 days a week of moderate exercise of at least 30 minutes. But if you're, doing marathon runs all the time, you need to go midnight. Yeah. That was little Allison. So, think about that, but it has been proven that sleep has been shown. So they looked at night shift workers and day shift workers. People who work night shift had a decrease of diversity of their microbiomes. So if you sleep with your natural circadian rhythm, you will have increased microbiome. Also, next one is eat organic, which I struggled with for a long time, because I'm like, why does that make a difference? Like, I'm eating a fruit. Like, a fruit is a fruit. And so I've actually learned a lot in the past year about organic and the importance of non-organic versus organic. And truly, because of the glyphosate, the Roundup that is on every single thing ever, the GMOs, they are important, even though I really don't want to believe it. They are, because when you eat it, it's that leaky gut type of thing, and those toxins, the herbicides, the pesticides, they are going through that barrier, and your immune system is recognizing it and attacking it, and causing inflammation. And again, remember, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So if you can think about, if you're eating crap all day long that's loaded with pesticides and herbicides, like your macrophages, your inflammatory system, your lymph, it's just going crazy. And that's going to make you like have arthritis, make you feel bloated, make you feel nauseous, make you have a tummy ache, like all these things that are all connected to your gut because of the inflammation that is right there. Okay, next one, having a diverse diet will help, of course, makes sense. So this is a reality. 75% of the world's food supply is from 12 plants and 5 animals. It's terrible. So very poor diversity. We need to not eat processed foods and simple carbs, because the more diverse our diet is, the more diverse our microbiome is. Next, let your kids get dirty. Let them eat in the dirt. Let them have animals. Let them eat it. It's just introducing more microbes to them and helping them. Ditch the antibiotic hand soaps. You don't need them. Just a regular soap is fine. And then the next one is to limit alcohol, or no alcohol. So here's the caveat. Red wine has polyphenols. So one could argue that they could have their daily glass of wine because they're getting their polyphenols, which, okay, but moderation, really, okay, like one glass, maybe. But it's kind of interesting. Okay. Woo, that's a lot. Okay, is there any other questions on ways to improve your microbiome? Oh, there's one. What kind of collagen do I recommend? I'll go get it. It's North Lakes. I can go get it.
My question really is, because isn't there collagen 1, 2, and 3 or something like that?
Oh, yes. So 1 and 2, I would say, I don't know the exact answer. I just know 1 and 2 is better than your like 4 and 5.
Okay.
For your intestinal healing.
Okay.
All right. All right, so let's talk about bowel movements. Pooping. We need to. So normally we need to be having 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. That you should not be straining to have a bowel movement. They should be soft, not liquid, and not a rock. That's normal because a meal that you take in, you need to be pooping it out like 12 hours later. And it needs to be that flowing. And if you're pooping like once a week, that's an issue in a lot of different ways, right? So pooping or having a bowel movement is the 3rd phase of detoxification of your liver. So the first phase, they break it down. The second phase, they package up the toxin or the waste. In the 3rd phase, you poop it out or pee it out. So if we're not pooping, we're not getting rid of the crap, literally the crap in our body. And so it can accumulate, it can permeate into your blood system, like especially estrogen. Oh my word. Estrogen will just deposit in your fat, like it'll just hang out if you're not pooping it out regularly. And we're getting estrogen from everywhere. And it just look up the term xenoestrogen on Google. Just do it, everyone. It's fascinating. So ways to improve our bowel movements: drink water and exercise. Half your weight in ounces per day of water is recommended. Exercise is good. Magnesium, dandelion root, yellow dock root are all herbs that help you move your guts or move your bowels. And those herbs actually help your liver detoxify as well. We want to stay away from things like Miralax, which is what we recommend to our patients, because Miralax is like an osmosis thing. It's not really letting your guts do the thing that it needs to do. There's a lot better herbal options out there that help your own intestines do the work instead of relying on osmosis or the movement of water to make you poop. And Colace doesn't do anything, so don't even know. So the next slide is, did I accomplish my goal? Did I teach you about what the microbiome is? How do you know if you have a leaky gut, or if you have those symptoms, like how to recognize them, and then why it's important to take note of your microbiome, why it's important of what you feed your body and how that feeds the microbiome, and how can you help your microbiome? Like, is there anything? Oh, Maddie says flax is the only thing proven to reduce breast cancer. Yep. There's actually several other things, but we'll just keep it there. Yeah. Hopefully everyone. Yes. Samantha, do you have any other questions? Okay. So I know a lot of people will be listening to this recording. So I wanted to point out a couple of different sources of information if you want to know more. So Dr. Aviva Ram, she's an MD. She went to Yale. She's also a midwife and an herbalist. She's fantastic. Highly recommend her. She has a website. She has a podcast. And Dr. Thomas Hemingway, he's a practicing emergency physician right now. And he's also has a podcast called The Modern Medicine Movement. And he is also recognizing the importance of these integrative functional medicine type of voodoo world that allopathic medicine hasn't quite think it's cool yet. So he's a practicing ER physician, and he realized how important it is. So that's another source for people who would want to know more. Okay, switching gears. So I'm done with the microbiome. And now, I'm talking to those folks who, what do you want to do? What has to change? And are you willing to do something with your health? Again, so Pure is a company that I trust by having third-party testing their ingredients. They're non-GMO, they're organic, they're not synthetic, there's no additives or dyes. I didn't know a lick about supplements when I started talking with Val, who's also a PA here. I was overwhelmed with the number of supplements out there and had issues about what company had, like what different companies and who to trust, because they're not regulated by the FDA. But now I've come a long ways since that time of being there and where I'm at now. And now I'm actually in a place where I recommend these products, and because I understand that there's soil depletion, I understand that there's a need to supplement. And can I give you the example of our hypothyroid patients, people who have low functioning thyroid? They are inevitably low in selenium, zinc, copper, iron, and they have to supplement those. But you have to, because of their leaky gut. Anyone who has leaky gut needs to supplement. Everyone needs to supplement because the soils are depleted and we're not eating enough of the fruits and vegetables, like I talked about, on a daily basis to feed our microbiome. So I love Pure and their supplements, but and there's probably other great brands out there. And if you are savvy on other brands and you know all about it, great. But if you're clueless about supplements and need some help, I'm here. And I just want you to be able to say yes to these and no to another prescription, like no to another antibiotic, no to another antidepressant, no to ibuprofen. Like there's just a laundry list of side effects to potentially cover up any underlying conditions and make your microbiome worse in this case. So Pure, I don't know, I guess Val, you could probably pull this up on your end if you wanted the targeted needs thing of Pure. So Pure, it's a full line of supplements. It goes over, gut health, blood sugar problems, sleep, stress, weight, joints, exercises, your digestion, your immune system. It also has a whole entire line of if you want to build muscle, and it helps you focus. And I wanted to just point out a couple of things, since we talked all about probiotics, I wanted to point out a probiotic that you might be interested in. Our probiotic has 8 different species of bacteria. They have a pretty new technology in this probiotic in that it's microencapsulated, so that they're more acid resistant, and so they can get to your small bowel and large bowel. It also makes it so you don't have to refrigerate it. So a lot of probiotics, I mean, you can refrigerate them or not, but this particular brand, you don't have to. 5 out of the 8 species of this probiotic target the small intestines, and then the 3 remaining target the large intestines to help populate your microbiome with the bugs that it needs. In this probiotic, there is a postbiotic and a prebiotic. And the prebiotic, when you combine it in your probiotics, it actually nourishes the bugs in what you're taking. The postbiotic functions as an antimicrobial and antifungal in the probiotic supplements. So if you are, talk to me about things, but there's a way to take these probiotics if you think, oh, my gut is a wreck. So mainly there's lactobacillus, lots of strains of lactobacillus. There's some streptococcus, and then there's bifidobacterium, different strains of bifidobacterium. And as we know, that's the main players that we want in our gut to help us make us be happy, make us less insulin resistant, help our weight. So that's our probiotic. The next one I wanted to kind of look at was the noni superfruits. So Pure has a whole line of superfruits, but I wanted to point out noni. So noni is traditionally used in the Polynesian islands. And it's pure noni juice. There's no additives to dilute it. But what it is, noni is an antioxidant powerhouse. It provides support and promotes your immune system. It's high in polyphenols. So we talked about that. And vitamin C and potassium. So I wanted, and it helps, make you poop too, which is great. The next thing I wanted to point out was Mila. Mila is a fiber supplement. They're chia seeds. They're micro sliced, and chia seeds are an excellent source of fiber for us. That's kind of pretty much what I wanted. Chia has a significantly higher percentage of fiber than corn, rice, oats, wheat, and barley. So again, the fiber will help, nourish our microbiome. The next one I wanted to point out was cleanse. So cleanse, as through this journey, I've learned a lot about herbs. These herbs and these products actually do the things they need to do. So cleanse, it is full of the substances or the molecules that your liver needs to detox on a daily basis. So this whole thing of detoxification, detoxing, what it is that? It's like, is that voodoo? Do you do it for a month and then you're done? No, detoxing happens every day of your life at every single moment. Your liver continually does it. But if your liver is giving what it needs to detox in those all three phases, it can do it more efficiently and it won't be burdened by the amount of stuff that we can continue to consume. So cleanse is an excellent thing that we use on a short-term basis for about 7 days, once a week. The next one I wanted to point out was Daily Build. Daily Build is our Powerhouse Multivitamin. It is liquid. As we grow older, our stomach actually just cannot absorb vitamins in a capsule as well, like that nasty grainy capsule that everyone takes as multivitamins. Like, I think there's some kind of imaging done that they just wash the capsule, go all the way through to the toilet, like you didn't even absorb it. So this is just liquid, and it's full of everything you need, literally everything you need. And I can go more into it if you're interested. Then the next one I wanted to talk about was sulfur. Sulfur is what I had started on. It is a detoxifier in phase 2 for liver. Sulfur is the main thing that detoxifies a lot of medications. And it's funny because when you take Tylenol for pain, it takes sulfur to break it down and so you can get rid of it. And which is really sad because sulfur helps with inflammation and your hair, skin, and nails, and allergies, and permeability of your cells, and detoxification. Like, it is like the third, there's like third to ninth most common mineral in our body. It is in literally every cell that we have, and the only way that we can get it is through our diet. So most of us are deficient. So sulfur is one that I like to start people on because it's just great. Our body needs it, and you can't really take too much of it, and it helps your liver do what it's supposed to do. And it also helps with arthritis. Which, can I just say, I know everyone's like, okay, Catherine, too much, but I'm going to just put another thing out there. I just got done listening to another podcast that is there's evidence to support that arthritis is from a leaky gut. Isn't that crazy? Arthritis in our culture is everywhere. Like, we just think that when we get old, we're going to have arthritis because that's just everyone's perception of arthritis. But no, no, our gut microbiome is a source of arthritis, and that can be a whole nother talk, but just know that you can get your gut and your microbiome happy, you can also be treating your arthritis. Like, it's fascinating, and I'm not going to go into detail about it, but it's pretty cool. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about was Daily Detox. That's another supplement that we have that you can take every single day, not just for 7 days. This again has everything your liver needs for all 3 phases or all 2 phases of detoxification with using herbs that are evidence-based. So it's not just like willy-nilly voodoo functional medicine hoopla. Like, no, these things do work and they do make your liver work better. And I'm not going to go away into all of that, but, and then these things, just real briefly, that Val's showing up right now is just different packs that are out there, that we have. This is enough product for, I think, 2 people for, I don't know how many months, but it's like everything we have as the pure line. You can just click through the next one there, Val.
Did you want me to go? Okay.
And then the Be Healthy is for like 1 person. And again, there's the superfruits you can see. And then we've got so many other different things, but the Sulfur, the cleanse, there's the skin immune line, the probiotic, the daily detox. There's a great liquid calcium supplement, which calcium is best absorbed when it's paired with magnesium and vitamin K and vitamin D. And it's a liquid. So, and you take it at night. So it's just like the proportions of what you need in one deal is fantabulous. Like that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. The Be Healthy, I wanted to point out, Be Healthy is it's a 30-day, but it's got the Mila that you talked about, the daily build, it's got your probiotic, daily detox, cleanse, sulfur, and noni. So literally everything Catherine just highlighted for gut health is going to be in that pack.
All right.
Next. Okay, sorry.
No worries. The Core Plus is, since we're talking about gut health, I mean, this is a great place to start, really, to start. And then I can always tailor with you with gut health because the cleanse and the sulfur in the Mila. And even the daily builds, like as I've been talking about, the daily build has phytochemicals in it as well. Or yeah, phytochemicals, which are also important for our microbiome. And then this is a smaller pack. Yeah. So, I am really passionate about this because, and as I said, in clinic, I don't have time to talk to people about this kind of thing. And patients and the medical culture is so used to, you come in, you describe your symptoms, and you're given a medication, a prescription to take. To just put a band-aid on your problem. We are not given the time to spend, 2 hours with you with your belly pain. Like, it's just a sad reality of the medical profession. And I feel like the functional medicine doctors do a really great job at doing this. And so I've been learning from these functional medicine doctors who are also practicing MDs, and they have a sweet spot. Like they have both titles, both types of training, and they're able to spend an hour or more with their patients going through all this, getting to the root cause, which is true, your gut health. So, yeah.
That was great. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I just wanted to share, I recently had now 2, it's been 2 in the last 2 months, new moms who were doing great, and they were doing great. They were breastfeeding, they were doing great, and they got mastitis. And so what gets prescribed when we get mastitis? Antibiotics, right? And both of them, within a week of getting their mastitis, had terrible postpartum depression, didn't feel like they were bonding with their baby, didn't feel like they cared about their baby or their other children like at all. And they just felt like, what the heck happened? They couldn't really explain, and they felt guilty for the way that they felt. And, both of them, I just kind of looked at them and I was like, well, you went on antibiotics. And it was just like, like that wouldn't have any connection to this at all. And so anyway, everything that you're saying, I'm just like, yeah, like that is just the epitome of that, like doing great, took an antibiotic, doing terrible. So yeah.
Yeah, and Val, do you want to share who you are real briefly since you're on
Oh
here?
yeah, since I'm talking. So I'm Val. I'm the one who introduced Catherine to Pure. I am also a PA, and I'm currently getting my herbalism certificate. And yeah, I just truly believe in these products. I think the one thing that I always say is that, with my herbalism, and just like Catherine, I listen to podcasts all the time, and I hear about something that I'm like, I gotta be taking that. I have that problem. I need to be taking that, or my family does, or something. And I'll be like, let's see what Pure product has that in it. And it's like, oh, well, I'm already taking it because Pure always has it. They always have it covered. And so, Catherine went into all the great science and everything, but I really think like, you don't need to know that. You just need to take the products. You just need to say like, here's what I have, and say, okay, I will put those products in my body, like the probiotic. You don't need to know why it works, but you need to know what it does. Catherine and I know why it works. And so, trust us, but you don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great too. Just having that insight too of, we're told to eat fruits and vegetables, but not really, I mean, we kind of understand why, but to really know why, like I feel like it's a really big motivator to me personally to be like, okay, like that makes sense.
Yes, I had to write down my aha moment was that everybody always tells you about fiber. And I've always thought of fiber as kind of just being as like this broom that helps sweep up all of the dust in your colon. But like my aha moment was that fiber is feeding. That's what my gut bacteria is living off of, is fiber. So we always need to be doing that, not just when we need a good sweeping.
Right. And Maddie's a PA too. She works with me in urgent care right now. So
Nice
you have
to
any
meet you, Maddie.
questions, Maddie?
Sorry, I'm gonna unmute now. It was super loud here earlier, but those people left, so now it's a little more quiet. But I'm in public. They probably all think I'm weird and talking to myself. No, it was super cool. Actually, this made me think of when you were talking about the arthritis, Catherine. Jaime today, like part of why I thought I might not be able to make it was because he was in like just not a good mood. Because his knee is killing him, and he killed it when he was 20, so 20 years ago. And he's got a metal plate and 3 or 4 screws in it. And it's like not always, but this year it seems like the cold weather right now is just killing him. And when you're talking about the arthritis, like he probably needs the plate out of his knee for one. 20 years and 6 deployments later. But yeah, like he's just, it's like really hurting him today. And he's just like, yeah, not a happy camper.
And is he popping ibuprofen too?
No, he doesn't take things very often. Like things will be hurting him. Like, well, did you take a couple ibuprofen like for this headache that you have today that you never get headaches? And like, maybe if you have a headache today, you could take an ibuprofen. And he's like, no. So
well, that's good that he's not.
He doesn't take a lot, but I also have to like force feed him anything green. So
yes, I mean that's the truth with most people.
Yeah. Like when we eat with my family and stuff like that, like we've always got vegetables, we've always got salad. Like, my parents are really good, better than I am really about making sure there's always like salad and vegetables and things like that. And I have to like put it on his plate for him half the time. I swear to you. Like, maybe if you ate these things, like your body would be happier with you.
Yes, it's so true. Like,
I know. Yep. So I did. I took him down the other night. I made a whole big thing of asparagus, and I like took a whole bunch of it downstairs and like